What up? Yeah, we back at it yet again. And if you've read the title, then you already know what it is. Bam, new update to Wulong. Um, so this one might go up on YouTube. I'm not sure. The last one did pretty okay. So we probably won't do this for every new patch or update that releases, but this one is notable, kind of like the last one, for the opposite reasons, right? The last one, there was a bit of context about underlying things that might have been done, but this one actually has a lot of really strong quality of life changes. I haven't heard anything negative about the release so far, but most have been about the additional features and changes, especially to drops, which, you know, whenever you respect a gamer's time, the player really, people talk about that. People are excited about it. People are like, yes, this is what should have happened, which should be in the game. So we're gonna run through some of the more notable ones, starting with the additional features, as they are the huge quality of life changes that I mentioned, that you should feel an effect as you play, in particular. So we're going to start just straight from the top. Added settings to automatically switch on to targets upon successful deflecting or deflecting the critical blows. Now this one is particularly important because I know anyone who's played this game long enough, who's gotten through a story, who's gotten to end game, has had the situation where you're in a combat with multiple opponents and you're hit and you deflect, but you deflect the red moves, the critical blows, and they get stunned, but then it's locked on to someone else. So either you started locked on to someone, a different character, a different NPC that attacks you, and you deflect NPC number two, and you can't do the critical blows because you're busy cycling through the number of enemies that are there and you miss your opportunity. Well, now you have successful automatic targeting, which is pretty good. Now you also have things like added options to set locked on targets to your enemy by pressing down on the right stick. So it's pretty good. So I don't know what it is about like this lock on with this game settings, where sometimes it'll just automatically lock on to somewhere just way out in the distance. I'm not sure if maybe like the enemy character mask or how it detects, but I've also experienced times where it just locks on to enemies that aren't right in front of me who I want them to be. So that's going to be pretty good. Set options to rotate tracking speed for lock on camera. That one didn't affect me much, but I think that has to kind of deal with the inertia movement. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you pan the camera around, there's kind of like a little blur or motion blur effect to it. And so a lot of people don't like that. They prefer to just have the same clean feature. Actually, I think I can demonstrate that one really fast. Let me go to a full screen view of the game real quick. I have it paused just because I'm gonna get into some action right after. But so if we're looking normally, right, and then we do this and we keep spinning, you see how it kind of like blurs. Like there's a little bit of like a little movement. It's kind of, man, I guess maybe if I turn it off, it'd be more noticeable. So let's actually mess around with some of these settings. So I think that one is a graphics setting. Let me see. It says go to normal camera page in camera settings. So we're gonna do that, and then inertia while rotating camera enabled. We're just gonna disable that and see if we can see the difference. Yeah, you see, like there's no blur. Everything feels a little bit cleaner, if that makes sense. Like, so this is with it off, and we'll turn it back on and see if there's a strong enough visual difference for you guys to tell. I mean, I feel like I can see it a bit more just because it's on my screen in front of my face. Got that. Like, I don't know. I feel like the background is a lot blurrier, if that makes sense. Not by much, but I guess enough to bother people who are a little bit more affected. So back to the notes here. So that's one thing there. Modified reinforcements to show warriors have sworn oaths and but are not currently available in companion. So I actually didn't realize this while I was playing, but you couldn't see all of the characters that you have available to give cups of cordiality and show this reinforcements. In fact, it was actually very mission dependent. And then in the hidden village, you couldn't see them at all. But if we go back to the game screen, so I'll just go ahead. Oh, wrong screen. Go back to that. I probably should leave it unpaused, to be honest with you guys. We come over here to a banner. Now when you go to the reinforcements tab, every single character there is there now. So this wasn't there before. And now you can actually see the levels of people, or the NPCs rather, that you may not have or have affected. So that's pretty cool. All right, back to the next thing here. Edit players to part ways with companions by selecting the current reinforcement menu rather than going to the Willow branch. So I guess I actually never used that feature. Either they died or I just got to the mission with them. But you could dismiss reinforcements, which is cool. So like if you're not specifically farming for cups of cordiality, the way you gain that sworn brother status is by actually having that reinforcement play with you. And so I guess if people like, oh, I reached it, let me dismiss, they use the Willow branch. Now you just go to the menu settings. That's cool. Made it so that the menu saved, so when you sort status, set wizardry spells, battle sets, they all stay in that category, which is actually kind of helpful. This is a small, again, kind of like, it seems like meaningless quality of life stuff, but like it is super efficient in a way, right? So I keep going to the console screen because I'm out of habit. Let's go look at the blacksmith right now so you can kind of see that in action as well. So I'm gonna come over here to the blacksmith, right? And then I'm gonna go to something like salvage, which you probably use a lot. As you can see in the bottom left, it says rarity, by rarity. And that's how I have it set, so it goes to the lowest rarity items first. So then I hit that down, you know what I mean? And I have my 4 stars right up above. Well, I guess there's not really weapons, but it goes in order. I recently went through a lot of this last night, but see all the 2s that I hadn't checked, and 3s, 4s, and I have that set because that's the way I like to view it. But you can sort by different options, by type, by upgrade level, by my goodness, I can't speak these days. By date of obtention, so when you got it, by defense, but I actually like by rarity personally. And that has been saved since I've set it. I have not changed it, and as you can see, it just held, and that will hold across all the types too. If I go to embedment, doesn't matter, upgrade, sell, everything is sorted by rarity. Another little cool feature that we'll kind of get to as well is an added interface allowing people to compare equipment, which is pretty nice. It doesn't do a lot, but like say if I come over here to, I think, embedment, right? Or do I need to be an upgrade? We'll just do upgrade. So this is what I have equipped, right? I can come down to this weapon, and now I can hit R2. Or I was supposed to be able to hit R2. Am I tripping? I definitely did this the other day. Maybe it's not an upgrade. Maybe. Well, now I look silly, don't I? Oh, you know what? I know what it is. For some reason, you can't do it there. But if I come over here and I look at this, bam, there it is. Wow. Okay, so, well, that's gonna look silly on YouTube because that part won't get cut, unfortunately. But anyway, as you can see, it will compare. Now, it doesn't do much. As I'm moving across, it's pretty much what I have equipped right there, but it doesn't like change between head and chest. You can see the headpiece is still up for some reason. Now I've gone to other stuff. Oh, it did change. Well, I didn't think it did. I guess I got treated last time because that's what happened to me. Like you saw before, it was just empty. But yeah, that's one of the other small features. So I mean, good to have it. It's definitely a little easier if you want to know right away, like which stats change, which one's different. Next one, equipment change check. We did that. Added added marked icons to completed missions in the travel menu. So what that does is it will show you, like, did you collect all the cicadas? Did you talk to all the pandas? Did you get all your dragon veins, crystals, and the essence? And you can see that on the map. So we will go back to in-game. Maybe I should just stay in full screen and just read these out. Perhaps that might be a little bit faster than switching back and forth, since this is just being done live, I won't have the magic of editing to swap that back and forth. But if we go to travel and we look at a map, you see where I'm in the hidden village, and at the bottom left of the hidden village square, the cicadas are lit up. But if I go to the next part, see, I haven't done that mission, so the pandas, the cicadas, they aren't highlit. Same with like the banners and flags, and as you can see, I've got a few things, but I missed probably what looks like to be an essence or something in that one, and I can kind of check out what I didn't get or what I did get in each part. So that's one of these small changes that are pretty good. Other small quality of life changes that are just decently helpful is automatic restocking of the projectiles, which is consumables, which is pretty cool. So as soon as you go to the flag, like when you're doing the mission, it will just populate everything to you once you come out of it, which is pretty nice. I experienced that the other day. And then the last one is the warning about players with weight ratio when it exceeds 100. So then that, you're too heavy, you get your fat rolls and your really dumb dodges or whatever. Like you don't really go any far, and kind of just pointless to do. Now, the one that's been making everyone really excited, the adjustments. So after some of like the nerfs, I guess, with certain boss farms and things that happened in the last patch that weren't mentioned, they went and changed things. They heard the comments that people made and they adapt. So increased drop rate with high rarities after defeating boss in main battlefields, increased drop rate of higher rarities after defeating sub boss in duels, and so on and so forth. So basically, also the important one, invades, because like I don't invade at all, but I have been invaded on, and I'm assuming more of my invades are probably going to happen a lot more during the session, just because they actually get higher drop rates for actually defeating the opponent. So that encourages to use this other side of the mechanics, as well as boss farming or farming maps after you've done it. Right. It's also made adjustments so treasure chests containing equipment will incur random loots. So only when you get them the second time, right, onwards. So the first time you're guaranteed. So some of those farms that people are saying like always come back to this chest, open it, and you'll always get this cup of cordiality. Looks like that might not happen. But it's saying for it contains equipment. I'm not sure if those item chests are going to stay the same or not. I feel like that might be a secret one that's not mentioned, but kind of mentioned. Like, oh, we said the chests are going to be random, but that is something that players are going to have to see when they start farming for things. Starting your second playthrough, such as items having higher upgrade levels, are also more likely of higher rarities, which is really good. So once you get to that new game plus type scenario where you're going back through it and you want to get that +9 armor or those 5-star sets and weapons and stuff like that, you have more likely to get them. And from what I can hear from the community that's been, ranting and raving since then, some people have already tested some of their farms and they're noticing very consistent drop rates for those 5 stars, which would make it really good to get specific skills and things on weapons that you want to have. That'd be pretty cool. And this one's adjust lock on target criteria to avoid prioritizing enemies that are farther away from the player when they're enemies that are nearby, which is again one of the points I made out earlier. Change interaction commands for barrier flags. So this one's pretty helpful. You've ever been next to a battle flag that you are about to plant, and then right next to it is a flag where someone went down, and you hit R2 on the controller and you give them a potion as opposed to planting your flag or picking up loot. Picking up loot is the most common one. Well, now you actually have to hit down on the D-pad in order to give them that item, so you don't have that same command of picking up your loot or giving away one of your potions that you might have need, which is pretty cool. Now, I didn't realize this, but apparently the difficulty level of the very first boss you fight is a lot higher, and it's discouraged several players. Like, this is once this comment was actually made that they nerfed his maximum HP and adjusted the type of damage and the AI a little bit. Apparently this is going to make that fight much easier to do. And the crazy part, when I'm thinking back to when I was engaged in that, you don't really have a lot of morale link you can gain to out advantage him. And I did, weirdly, I felt like struggle more than I anticipated I would, because it felt like a doable fight. but I was taking L's because he was just hitting you, right. And you actually have two phases with him, which is not as common as you would have guessed. After fighting him, I thought every boss character would at least have a couple of phases, but more often than not, most bosses are one phase fights. There are very few, or at least kind of far between, that I've had up until part 5, where I'm at now, where I've had a lot of two phase enemies. Most of my enemies have actually been one phase fights. So you start with two phases, a normal dude and then the demonized mode, and he does mad damage considering like the amount of gear and what you have available to you at the very beginning of the game. So I guess that discouraged a lot of people from continuing forward. So hopefully this will change things around, add more player base, so that maybe PvP is a bigger thing later on. That might be like a subtlety change going forward. They also made adjustments to Divine Beast attacks, so it's affected by your morale rank. So the higher your morale rank, the more damage your beast will do, which is pretty good. I'm not sure how effective that will turn out to be. Uh, can you make builds around it? Like, I know you can do Divine Beast Spirit Gain now, but I don't really see anybody trying to make a build focused on summoning the Divine Beast to get that damage. I mean, maybe they might cause someone to try it out, since they can actually work to get a high morale rank, right? And then switch your battle sets so that your Divine Beast spawns more regularly, and just use that to do big damage on fights. Like, that could be something that's doable, but that seems kind of niche, so that's good. And then extended duration of invincibility after performing fatal strikes and deflects in response to critical blows. That is actually super helpful, because you ever be like aiding your character to bring them back, or like getting a deflect and then immediately have to do something else, because as soon as that's done, another multiple enemies are swinging at you. You're always outnumbered when you're out in the open just doing random things. So these are pretty good changes. And then for all you guys who like to screenshots and take those glorious photos, photograph mode has been improved, so you have better camera movement and rotation based off your view. More than that, there's a couple other things, right? Written notes, target revenge, whatever. That's not so great, but some bug fix, excuse me. You guys can go ahead and take a look at that. I'll try whenever I do upload this to YouTube to make sure I link this in, so that you guys can take a look at the major bug fixes. But all in all, the biggest takeaways: increased drop rates for higher rarity. So that's great for all you guys who are in the second playthrough, your new game versions, getting your 5-star gear and whatnot. And I'm glad these changes are actually made before I've gotten there. So it's going to be nice for me. I don't have to deal with the struggle bus of grinding with fluctuating loot drops. Hopefully when I get there, they won't backtrack on any of these good adjustments. And I'm really happy about the lock-on ones. I might actually adjust one of them to the targeting issues when we start playing. But anyway, thanks for listening to me, for you YouTube guys, and everyone else who's going to be watching live. Just stick with me. We're about to switch and get right into it. So YouTube, peace. Everyone else, hang tight, and we're about to do it.